I'm Josh Ryan, licensed professional counselor, and this is your daily rep, a short practice to build emotional control under pressure. Most people try to calm conflict by explaining harder. They repeat their points. They defend themselves more clearly. They tend to want to add more detail to make their argument stronger. But most of the time, that doesn't calm the conversation. It usually intensifies it. Because when someone is emotionally activated, they are usually not looking for more information. They are looking for evidence that they've been heard. That's an important distinction. When people feel misunderstood, their nervous system stays elevated. They keep talking. They repeat themselves. Their tone continues to sharpen, and their frustration ultimately grows. Not always because they want to fight, but because they do not feel like they've been received yet. And until people feel received, they rarely settle. This is why so many conversations go in circles. One person keeps explaining, the other person keeps pushing harder. Not because the issue is impossible to solve, but because the emotional need underneath the issue has not been addressed. The need to feel understood. Understanding does not mean agreement. That's where most people get confused. They hear understand and assume it means surrender, approval, or maybe weakness or giving in. But understanding and agreement are not the same thing. You can understand someone's frustration without agreeing with every conclusion they've drawn. You can understand their fear without agreeing with their behavior. You can understand their perspective without abandoning your own. Understanding simply means you are accurately recognizing what is happening from them. And when people feel that recognition, their nervous system often begins to settle. That's not manipulation. That's just how human beings work. When people feel unseen or unheard, they escalate. When they feel seen and heard, they soften. Not always immediately and not always completely, but often enough that this becomes one of the most important communication skills you can build. Think about what happens when someone is upset and you respond with pure logic. They say they're frustrated, and you immediately explain why the frustration is unnecessary, or why your intention was different, or why they misunderstood the situation. Even if your explanation is accurate, it usually lands poorly in that moment. Why? Because logic delivered before understanding often feels dismissive. The other person hears, you are wrong to feel this way, or you need to stop reacting, or your experience doesn't make sense. That makes people more defensive, because now they're not only upset about the original issue, they're also upset that their emotional reality is being skipped over. That's why understanding has to come first. Not always a long speech. Sometimes just one sentence is enough. Something like, I can see why you're frustrated. Or, I understand why that landed the way it did. Or even, that makes sense to me. Those kinds of responses do something powerful. They reduce resistance. They lower the need to prove. They tell the other person, you do not have to escalate to be heard. And once that need drops, the conversation can change. This matters in marriages, it matters in parenting, in leadership, it matters at work. Because in every high-stress conversation, there are usually two levels occurring at once. There is the surface issue, and then there is the emotional experience underneath it. Reactive communicators only argue with the surface issue. Disciplined communicators recognize the emotional experience they're having too. That recognition gives them more influence because people calm down faster when they feel understood as to when they feel corrected. Correction does have its place. The truth does matter. Accountability is important. Clarity matters. But correction before understanding often creates resistance. And understanding first creates room for correction later. That order matters. First, you regulate the relationship, then address the issue. That's leadership. Let's make this a little more practical. Imagine your spouse says, "You never listen to me." The reactive response might be an immediate defense, something like, "That's not true." Now you've entered a debate, and debates rarely calm hurt. A more disciplined response might be, "I can hear that you're feeling dismissed." That sentence does not mean you agree with the absolute statement, "You never listen." It means you recognize the feeling underneath that statement. And when that feeling is recognized, the intensity often drops. Now the conversation has a chance. Or imagine a team member says, "I feel like my concerns aren't being taken seriously." A reactive leader might respond with explanations. Something like, "That's not fair. I've tried to address this." But a stronger response might be, "I can understand why it would feel that way." Again, that does not mean total agreement. It means acknowledgement. And acknowledgement lowers defenses. This is why validation is powerful. Not because it solves everything instantly, but because it helps regulate emotional intensity. People calm down when they feel understood, not because they got their way, but because their experience was recognized. That recognition creates safety, and safety creates for better conversations. Now, this does not mean that you validate everything indiscriminately. You do not have to validate distortion of truth. You do not have to affirm unhealthy behavior. You do not have to collapse your boundaries. But you can validate emotion without validating every conclusion. For example, a statement, "I can see that this brought a lot up for you," that validates emotion. Or, "I understand why that hit you the way it did," that validates experience. That is very different from saying, "You're completely right about everything." Understanding someone is not surrender. It's strategic connection. And connection changes communication. When people feel understood, they become more able to hear nuance, more able to hear correction, more able to consider a different perspective. That is why understanding is not the end of conversation. It's the doorway to a better one. Reactive people rush to defend. Disciplined communicators slow down long enough to understand first. That difference changes outcomes. It also changes your authority in the conversation. Because strong people are not interested by someone else's emotional experience. They do not panic when another person is frustrated. They do not feel the need to shut down emotionally immediately. They can stay steady enough to acknowledge it. And that steadiness is leadership. When someone is upset and you remain calm enough to understand before correcting, you change the emotional temperature of the room. You become regulating instead of reactive. That's a powerful shift. Today's rep. The next time someone is upset with you, Resist the urge to explain first. Start by naming what they may be feeling. You might say, I can see why you're frustrated, or I understand why that felt disappointing. And then stop. Let it land. Do not rush to defend yourself immediately. Give understanding a moment to do its work. You may be surprised how much faster people calm down when they no longer feel that they have to fight to be heard. This is the end of Pillar 3, choosing your response. And one of the strongest responses you can choose is understanding. Because understanding lowers resistance, and lower resistance creates better conversations. If you're serious about building emotional discipline and strong communication, stay in the process. We're in the middle of the 30-day discipline run. 15 reps completed, 15 more to go. If you're interested in the rest of the pillars, please follow the show and continue to listen. You can find the book and the workbook at pauseandrespond.com. And please come back tomorrow, because tomorrow we'll build on this again. We'll talk about why defensiveness keeps conversations stuck. Less reaction, more choice.